When it opened in September 1891, the Victoria Theatre was described as an edifice equal to anything in Australia for architectural beauty and excellence of appointment. Taking their seats for the inaugural production of Evangeline, or The Belle of Arcadia, the opening night audience were awed by the proscenium arch with its Grecian-inspired decorations and the skillfully painted act curtain depicting canals and buildings in Venice. Evangeline was an elaborate musical extravaganza imported from Broadway, along with its composer, Edward E. Rice, and 12 members of his American Evangeline Company, who were bolstered with an ensemble of Australian actors and singers. Let's go backstage to see the layout and organisation of the stagehouse, as well as the specialised machinery that created the stage illusions for Evangeline and the 103 different productions at the Victoria during its first year of operation. This is what the mechanists and stagehands saw from the loading dock door near the northwest corner of the theatre. The tall fly tower soared above their heads. The grid was 50 feet, that's over 15 metres, above the stage floor. The grid was a timber frame structure supporting the rope, pulley and block system that controlled the movement of large pieces of scenery down into and up out of the stage picture. An arrangement of staircases and ladders against the stage left and stage right walls of the stagehouse led to the galleries where the mechanists and flymen operated the grid's flying system. The staircases also led to dressing and storage rooms, one level above the stage floor. There were also dressing rooms on the stage level and more on the auditorium stalls level. Let's take a look into the star actor's dressing room. It's set up for the female lead of Evangeline. The room is arranged with mirrors, hooks for hanging costumes, a dressing screen, a wig or hat stand, and the actor's travelling trunk and makeup box. There were 60 people in the Evangeline touring company, and during performances it would have been crowded backstage with actors, stagehands, mechanists, gasmen, and believe it or not, a kangaroo named Jack who featured in the show. Jack, the fighting kangaroo, was trained to go through the performance of boxing and knocking out a novice in the art of self-defense. The Victoria had a total of 12 dressing rooms. It's likely the manager of the Evangeline Touring Company would have set his office up here, just inside the door leading out into the stalls of the auditorium. Here, company members would have checked the daily notice board, perhaps collecting mail that had been delivered to the theatre for them. Before the show began, the painted curtain we see here, known as the act drop, focused the audience's attention on the picture frame of the stage. It was only used in the preset. The house curtain would come in during the overture. Then the house curtain would open to reveal the scene. All scenery changes were subsequently carried out behind the house curtain. The platform in front of the curtains was large enough for actors to enter and continue the play's dialogue, so the narrative action was not interrupted by the scene change. With the house curtain closed to mask a scene change behind, actors could enter from stage right, stage left, or centre. Sometimes a song or dance might be performed in front of the act curtain as an entree act, a piece between the acts. Gas footlights at the front edge of the stage ensured actors were lit. These lights also served as a barrier between the illusions on the stage and the orchestra and audience out the front. Here we see the opening scene of Evangeline, an ocean horizon in the imaginary region of Arcadia. A cottage on a rock with rustic steps cut into it, and a tree-framed rocky shore. There are no photographs or drawings of Evangeline at the Victoria, but a black and white photo of this scene at Niblo's Garden Theatre in New York City provides a useful guide for how it may have looked at the Victoria in 1891, allowing for the fact that new scenery was constructed and painted in Australia by the Melbourne-based scenic artists John Hennings, Fred Edmund and Bert Levi. Note how much narrower the Victoria's proscenium frame is compared to the stage at Niblo's Garden. In this scene, there are standalone items that were moved on from the wings. Here's the rustic cottage with a working door that characters could enter and exit through. The rustic steps and rock are not just for show. They had to be strong and stable for actors to walk and stand on them. And this rock had to be constructed so that the actor who played the lone fisherman could easily climb up and perch on it. Cut cloths were attached to the grid in the fly tower and flown into the stage picture. The back cloth, here painted as the ocean scene, was also flown in. And on the stage floor is the painted ground cloth. In 1891, the Victoria Theatre was lit with gas, and as we see here, there were lighting sources in the wings and above the stage to illuminate the scenery and the actors. 4 rows of vertical lighting battens were positioned in the wings on each side of the stage. Multiple gas-powered flames were set in a reflective metal batten. The first lighting tower was fixed, a permanent feature of the theatre's standard rig. Those further upstage were attached to the grid above and could therefore be moved up and down or repositioned on different grid lines. Essentially towers of flame, they had to be anchored to the stage floor for safety reasons. Horizontal lighting battens were attached to the grid above, flown into position with the rope and pulley flying system. Earlier in the century, each of the lighting appliances would have been ignited manually with a taper, but in 1891, the pilot light would have remained burning. Eventually, this was replaced by an electric spark ignition. Each lighting batten was fed through a rubber gas hose, and all the gas hoses were attached to the gas table. Large tanks under the stage stored the gas that was piped to the gas table. The gas man, who was responsible for the lighting, controlled the flow of gas to the footlights, the wing lights, and the horizontal gas battens via an intricate network of pipes from the gas table. The gas table enabled him to regulate the intensity of the illumination. For more specific purposes, such as spotlighting a performer, the limelight apparatus was operated from the first floor gallery. Let's cross the stagehouse now to the stage right side and climb up to the fly galleries, where the flymen operated the grid system of ropes and pulleys, controlling the movement of flown scenic pieces into and out of the stage picture. This theatre was a hemp house, so called because of the fly system of hemp ropes, lift lines that ran from each horizontal batten to the loft blocks, across the stage to a head block and back down to a pin rail, where the hemp ropes were tied off. Here you can see the sandbags the flymen held onto, using their body weight to raise and lower the scenery. While most contemporary motorized or counterweight flying systems have a batten every 150 to 200 millimeters, the bulk of these sandbags and the ropes needed with the flying system in this theatre meant that the Victoria could only rig 27 fly lines, spaced at a minimum of 305 millimeters apart. Large productions, such as Evangeline, would have severely tested not only the capacity of the stagehouse, but also the mechanists working to make the many changes of the elaborate scenery. For 75 years, from 1891 to 1966, the Victoria Theatre was a commercial concern, managed and operated to make profits for its shareholders. The Victoria's history reveals adaptability and resilience. Alterations in 1906 widened the proscenium and enlarged the stage. Throughout 75 years, the Victoria responded to changing production demands, cultural tastes, and commercial imperatives. Through a meticulous process of detailed historic research into this theatre and other Australian theatres of the era, this is how we propose the stage house and the scenic machinery of the Victoria looked in 1891 when it first opened with Evangeline or the Belle of Arcadia.